I honestly thought the title of the first female-fronted live-action movie would be in the hands of the Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson has been in the supporting role since 2010, with 7 Avenger-related movies under her belt, including the upcoming Infinity War films, which are scheduled for release in 2019, and also serving as the final installment in Marvel's Phase 3, meaning that an origin story-based Black Widow movie would feel obtuse this late in the Avengers universe. Do Marvel think that there's not enough room in their already jam-packed schedule for a Black Widow movie? Do they believe that the character isn't prominent or popular enough to justify bringing Johansson from the background to the spotlight, or do they fear that the Black Widow alone couldn't carry them into a profit? Obviously, I don't have the answers, but I do know that Marvel isn't afraid to pour budget into the uncertain. No one really knew what Guardians of the Galaxy was until Chris Pratt came along, and who the fuck is that guy? Anyway, so it's up to Gal Gadot to front the vanguard for female superhero fans who have been waiting way too fucking long for one of their own to helm a comic book based movie. It's an important film and there's a substantial amount of pressure on the shoulders of everyone involved. It's 1918 and Diana, not dubbed Wonder Woman or Diana Prince at this point, is training to be an Amazonian warrior on the hidden island Themyscira when a plane belonging to US intelligence officer Steve Trevor crash lands. After being rescued by Diana, he informs her that there is a war to end all wars going on in the outside world. After a kerfuffle with some pursuing German soldiers, Diana believes that Ares is responsible for the war because law and shit, so she decides to leave the island and join Steve in the hope to find and kill Ares before the Germans take over, and I feel I'm on the cusp of racism here, so I'll move on. Before I get into anything else, yes, it's better than Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad for a number of different reasons. Some of them include the fact that the dialogue, although ropey in parts, didn't appear to be written by someone who poured a tin of alphabetti spaghetti over a piece of script paper then dragged it through a pile of cow shit. The cinematography looked like it wasn't shot through a lens that was soaked overnight in a barrel of infected orc piss. There's actual structure to this film, and the editing didn't give me the impression that it was done by a sword-happy pair of scissors on cocaine. If anything, it's more of a concoction consisting of the first Captain America and Thor movie. Much like the first Avenger, a historic war serves as a backdrop to the narrative, though we will brush over the fact that according to this movie, World War I was the war to end all wars, despite the fact that a sequel was only 21 years down the line, but anyway. Similarly to the first Thor movie, it's quite heavy on its respective mythology, though I do wish that the lore of the Amazons was explored more instead of bashing it out in a hurry first thing like your dad does over pictures of your uncle before your mum wakes up. Since Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman was recently spotted trying to add a touch of dignity to a train wreck, we already know that she brings a powerful screen presence to the role, and in the Wonder Woman movie it's no different. The spotlight is shared with no one. Her supporting cast, with the exception of Chris Pine and Steve Trevor, are so forgettable and generic that I honestly can't remember most of their names, and there are no cameo appearances from any other members of the Justice League, spoiler alert I guess, meaning that there isn't any rectum-ruining, arsehole-splitting colossal mega shits to derail the pacing and butcher the flow. See Batman vs Superman for an example. However, the character herself is very wooden and mostly monotone, by design I'm sure, to the point that Henry Cavill would have probably done a decent job as well. However, it's really hard to judge her performance because Wonder Woman expresses roughly the same amount of emotion as the Terminator on Lithium. Outside of the action scenes, not every attempt at injecting herself with emotion was a successful one, especially during the first half of the movie when she was adapting to a world outside of Themyscira. Perhaps it was because the character herself would feel awkward and closed off in a completely new environment with a lot of unfamiliar faces and technology, so she would naturally keep her feelings to herself and not express emotion fully in the name of not showing weakness. Or maybe it was due to Gal Gadot's performance sharing the same level of inconsistency with a dysphagia patient's gag reflex. The action scenes are well choreographed despite the overuse of slow motion. However, the inevitable boss fight between Wonder Woman and Ares was more anticlimactic than phone sex with Hodor. It was even worse than the one in Batman vs Superman. She kept running up to him, did a bit of melee, he flicked her off, rinse and repeat. Also, the CGI on Ares was fucking atrocious, and whoever was in charge of the prototype for his costume design looked like they brought a budget Alliance soldier figurine, nailed a ram skull to it, then dipped it in a bucket of octopus jizz. Contributions from the stunt double aside, it felt like character and actress found harmony when it came to the combat scenes. Gal Gadot looked so much more comfortable slaughtering endless waves of people than she did having a conversation around a campfire. Totally understandable, to be fair. If you think about it in ways, it does make sense narratively speaking. Wonder Woman has been an Amazonian warrior all her life, and she has only been Diana Prince since the second act of this movie. And that of course takes a lot of adjusting and time to fully adapt to, but when it comes to kicking the shit out of someone, it's second nature to her regardless of opponent, situation or location. So she is going to look a lot more at home, so to speak, so perhaps Gadot was told to look occasionally awkward during scenes that require emotional expression. However, DC is DC. Therefore, I couldn't possibly be that naive. Let's be honest here, this is the franchise that's notorious for terrible casting decisions, so the fact that we have someone who is competent at this shit is more miraculous than the series of events that brought us the Fleshlight. On its own merit, Wonder Woman is serviceable, good enough as it were. The acting is overall inoffensive and the action satisfactory. The reason why it's been praised so much is because it's been handcuffed to the Batman vs Superman Suicide Squad comparison, and to be honest, when it's lined up by those two, I applaud the shit out of it. In fact, I applaud it so hard that my freshly ejaculated sperm has to wear a neck brace.